Klaatu Berada Nikto.
Good. Klaatu Berada Nikto. Klaatu Berada Nikto.
Necktie, nectar, nickel. Definitely an N-word.
Klaatu Berada Nikto.
All right, thank you for listening to Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. As always, I am Mike, and with me I've got one of my co-hosts. I've got Double D.
Hey, that's me.
How are you doing, Double D?
I'm doing good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. He also goes by David, so you might hear us call him David or Double D.
That's my names.
Doesn't really matter. It goes either way.
David.
And then we've got our other co-host, Alex.
Why you sound so disappointed there, Mike?
That's me.
Yeah, that's you. Do you have any nicknames, Alex?
No, just Alex.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. What is your nickname?
Technically, Alex is a nickname.
I mean, that was the
That's
argument I
true.
made, but he said he wanted another one.
No.
What is your nickname?
No, that's fine. I'm
Let's
fine
just
with
call
Alex. I'm fine
Let's
with
just call
Alex.
him Alejandro.
All right.
I guess.
Hey, you're disappointing our fans, Alex. I had a lot of people really happy with your nickname.
Oh, I know. I know. All right.
All right. Anyway, his name is Alice.
God damn.
Alice. Because he likes the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
zombies.
how was your guys' 4th of July weekend?
It was a lot of fun, other than working.
Oh, that's right. I didn't have to work. I got completely away from technology. I went up to the woods 2 hours past Sacramento, and 45 minutes or so from the nearest cell signal. So I didn't do anything.
Wow.
I just went and was with nature. It
I'm
was
glad you made it
great.
back.
I can survive out in the wilderness. I'm good.
Well, now we know.
I'm pretty good marksman. I know how to build fires. I could survive out in the woods.
Did you
for a
hunt?
bit.
Did you
No, I
hunt
didn't
for
hunt, but we did some shooting, and I'm pretty good.
yourself? Oh. All right.
Never mind.
Anyway, yeah, you guys worked because you guys have lame jobs.
Yeah, you're right. Can't argue
Yep.
And I have a grown-up job and got to take a vacation.
that.
And
Hey.
then I held off watching these movies until today, and I literally finished the second movie 10 minutes before we got on to record.
That's
So
fantastic.
Good
No
timing
wonder
on me.
you didn't complain about how late we're recording.
Well, 9 o'clock's not so bad
It's
on
bad
a
for you.
Sunday.
Yo,
Eh,
it's
not
always
that bad.
okay. 9 o'clock.
Well, I mean, I would love to do like 7 or 8, but I understand that you guys work
Yeah,
retail.
that's a thing.
Yep. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's talk about what we're going to be talking about. What are we going to be talking about, guys?
I'm just gonna be talking about Keanu Reeves.
Just
okay,
Keanu
but what
Reeves.
movie? He's got
No, just
so
straight up
many
Keanu-
movies.
Oh, right.
Uh,
The day the Earth stood still.
Right. So 1951, the original. This is considered a sci-fi classic. It is actually protected. Yeah, it's in like the Library of Congress. It's in like all the archives because it's been considered culturally relevant or aesthetically individual or aesthetically interesting. So this is considered one of the greatest movies of all time. And then it got remade in 2008 with Keanu and Jennifer Connelly and Kyle Chandler and Kathy Bates and John Hamm.
And John Hamm, yeah. Everyone.
John
Yeah.
Hamm.
Oh, a lot of people. And yeah, we watched them both, and we're going to talk about them. Have you guys seen either of these movies before?
I have seen the new one. I've never seen the original.
I've seen neither. What about you, Alex?
I've seen both of them.
Oh, okay, you fancy.
cultured.
You fancy. I actually really wanted to see the Keanu one, and I never got around to it. And then I heard it was bad, and then I never watched it. But I watched it now, and I'm ready to talk about it. You guys ready to talk about it?
Oh, yeah.
Ready.
All right, let's talk about it. Who's got a synopsis for the 1951 version?
That would be me. Yes. This is from Bruce. An alien Klaatu with his mighty robot, Gort, land their spacecraft on Cold War era Earth. Just after the end of World War II, they bring an important message to the planet that Klaatu wishes to tell to representatives of all nations. However, communication turns out to be difficult. So after learning something about the natives, Klaatu decides on an alternative approach. And that's from Bruce.
Did he though?
I mean, he was trying to decide on a
Well,
approach.
he ends
Not
up like
really.
doing like the scientist thing instead of like, let me talk to your UN. Oh, I'll just talk to your scientist people.
I mean, the only thing but not really. Like the way I feel like the one that you just read kind of fits the newer one more than this one did. If it's this one, because basically, this guy shows up to Earth and gets shot immediately.
Yeah.
And it's like, take me to your leaders. Everyone's like, no. And then the scientist is like, why don't you just demonstrate your power some other way and show that, the Earth will be doomed? And he didn't really do much other than he shut off the electricity for 30 minutes. But like nobody necessarily knows it was like him who did that. And it's right. It's just like, oh, the world went without electricity for 30 minutes.
Before we get super deep into this, can we just clarify what you guys think would happen if an alien landed in Central Park or something like that?
Well, one, I don't think they'd be stupid enough to do it.
Right. I mean,
But-
especially like this, if they've been observing us.
Right. If they've been observing us, they definitely wouldn't. But if one actually did, and it was like that relevant where, there was no denying it, it's not like Roswell where it gets covered up. Like there's just no way you can deny it. I think there would be mass hysteria initially. There would be people who would be all over. I think the world would be super divided amongst like killing it and understanding it and then wanting to just reverse engineer it. I think it would be more like Independence Day where, you'd see a bunch of people like, whoa, let's welcome the aliens. And then you'd see like a bunch of people like, nah, I don't trust these aliens. Get them out of here. Make Earth great again.
Yeah, no, probably echo the similar approach. It'll probably be a mix of both, like, fuck this thing, let's fuck it up, and other people like, let's hear it out, let's see.
And before we get really into it, Kathy Bates plays the Secretary of Defense in the newer one, and she pretty much has a line that I think sums up what I think would happen, but I'll wait until we get into the second movie. But I don't think Earth would be super chill. I think there would, scientists would be like, yeah, let's figure out what the hell's going on. They got here. Let's figure out what technology they have, what medical breakthroughs they have. But I think we're I think too many people would want to, especially in America, would want to either destroy it or they'd want to, get the tech and make money off of it and not necessarily care about the advancement of the human race. Because, I hate to sound cynical, but I mean, we really are. And this actually is very much in line with the second movie, but we really are at like a tipping point for things like climate change. We're very much at a tipping point with like race relations in the United States. And we're kind of looking like we're on the wrong side of history on this. We're doing everything we can to go back to the way you just
destroy ourselves.
Yeah, it's like I saw this meme the other day and it shows like this guy in a suit sitting around a fire in a post-apocalyptic world with these kids, and he goes, yeah, the Earth may have been destroyed, but for a very short period, we made a lot of money for the shareholders, kind of thing. And I really think there's so many people out there right now who go, well, I'm not going to be around in 50 years or 100 years. I want to just make my life great now. And they don't care about future generations because we really are pretty much at the point of no return, for climate change and everything. And we're not really doing anything fast enough. Like every military agency is basically saying climate change is the biggest threat to national security. And it just came out that we had a report censored by the administration saying, we can't say anything about climate change in it because it doesn't fit the narrative that the administration's doing. So, I mean, we're doing everything we can that would be counter to what both versions of Klaatu from the movies would want us to be doing right now.
Yeah, I think they would totally destroy us.
Yeah, and I don't think we don't deserve it.
I mean, also, though, they bring it up, I think, in the first movie. I don't know that they did in the second movie, but wouldn't they just have, like, the resources or, like, the technology to help us fix it?
Well, it's the second movie that they bring that up specifically.
Also, no, in the first one, because, like, he mentions it's not about because he's talking to a scientist. He's like, it's not about technology. It's about, like, how we are kind of thing.
Well, that one's, I think, more prevalent in the second movie. Because the first movie, and these both have very big themes that fit with the time. I don't want to, like, obviously it's not a satire, but there is a definite theme of the movie. So the first one is very much almost like an anti-nuclear weapon kind of movie.
Yeah.
It's very much a, like, proliferation movie. Like, we shouldn't have nuclear weapons. We could, there are other things you can use nuclear energy for, but don't use them for weapons. So the whole premise of the first movie is there is like a federation, like in Star Trek, of, intelligent life that are in nearby planets and nearby galaxies that do not want Earth to basically become part of space if they're going to bring nukes to space. So they recognize that, World War II, we developed nukes, and then we started building rockets to go into space. And they don't want us bringing our nukes into space. They're totally cool with us having nuclear energy, but they don't want violent people in space. So, and then the whole movie is basically like, you are bad people. Like, Earth is constantly at war. They're constantly fighting over resources, constantly fighting over that. And we don't keep that in your neighborhood. Do whatever you want on your planet. Just don't bring it to my planet.
None of that.
Don't bring it to space.
I also thought it was interesting that he was like, we developed these advanced robots to govern us. We basically lost free will, but we're at peace.
The exact opposite. He goes, you're not really giving up your freedom. The only thing you're giving up is your right to behave like a dickhead. Obviously I'm paraphrasing. And it's one of those things. What's funny is, we have like the Patriot Act in America, right? Where, we gave up all kinds of freedoms for security. And then you also have, but right now we're constantly being told like, oh, we can't have, democratic social. We can't have this. We're giving up too many rights and all that stuff. It's just weird how people feel about giving up rights, even if they don't. Or like gun control. They're like, oh, we have the right to do this. But the same people are willingly like taking off their shoes at an airport because we had one person with a bomb in their shoes. And it's literally, just a couple years back, right around the time I got married, they did a test for the TSA, and almost everybody failed. Like, so many people were able to get, weapons in through.
Yep.
Obviously this was a government test.
I think it was like 78% or something got through.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. And it's just like, here we are willingly giving up these rights for something we know doesn't work for the appearance of security, but then there are certain things that we are unwilling to give up where we know for a fact they'll help us out. Like, people we now know definitively, and it's weird, this podcast is getting very political in this episode, but we now know definitively that if we switch to, some sort of form of universal health care, it would actually be cheaper for most individuals for us to go that route. But I personally know this guy. I'm not going to, dox him and say who he is, but I have this friend of mine who he had cancer twice before he turned 30.
Oh, man.
And he is on his, initially he was on his parents' health plan because he was under, 26. And that was because of, Obamacare. He was able to do that and still be on his parents' insurance. And then, later on he got a job where he had insurance because he has to, you can't deny, coverage for pre-existing conditions. But this guy is so anti-universal healthcare, he straight up told me that he would rather pay more for himself, because I told him, I'm like, you will pay more in insurance premiums and your overall healthcare than if we had universal healthcare. And he goes, absolutely, I would, but I don't want any of my money going to anyone else. It's just, we have this weird mentality right now where it's me over that. It's like, you're not willing to give up. Like, you can spend $1,000 on you, or you can spend $800 on everybody. Well, no, I'd rather spend $1,000 on me. Like, you're an idiot. Like, straight up, like, it's stupid. And then same thing with like gun control. Like, anytime there's a mass shooting and someone goes, hey, we should maybe not have as many guns, people are like, it's my right. And it's like, no one's saying to take away all guns. Just, hey, maybe you don't need anything this crazy. Or, let's at the bare minimum have like mental health checks.
Yeah, priorities.
Anything like, nope, it's my right. And it's like, but then these same people are very much like, we red, white, and blue, we don't run. We're gonna fight these terrorists. Yeah, I'll take off my shoes at an airport. And it's like, definitively we know gun control does help. Definitively we know universal health care would be better. Definitively we know global warming's happening, but nope, can't. Yeah. So anyway,
can't change people's minds.
We can't, and that's kind of the whole theme of both movies is this alien is coming to Earth and basically judging society and deciding if humans are going to survive.
Exactly. Sorry for the long tangent, listeners.
Yeah. So, and it's all very much like about human nature.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly what it's about. I mean, this alien comes here to decide whether he should murder us all or not.
Right. And like in the first one, it's not so much that. The first one, it's just like, I want to give you a warning. If you guys are dickheads, then we'll do this. He's not coming to Earth to decide anything. It's just like, if he's just giving a warning, really. Yeah. And his whole thing is just don't bring nukes to space. You'll be fine. If you bring a nuke into space, our robot will destroy the Earth.
Easy peasy.
If you're easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And yeah, that really comes down to it. The first movie it's only an hour and like 31 minutes. That's not super long.
No, it's not. But I did find it weird that he was just accompanying a child the entire movie.
I liked it.
You know what? Children are fine.
I agree, but I don't know. I just thought it was awkward.
So, what did you guys feel about this movie overall? Any highlights?
No. I did like the ship and Gort. Those were my two favorite things.
The thing about Gort, so Gort is supposed to be 8 feet tall in this movie, and he's the robot, right?
Yeah.
So the actor who plays Gort is he's just under 7 feet tall, still massive.
Yeah, still huge.
But he was a very sickly person. So when you see him carrying Helen at the end of the movie, he wasn't physically strong enough to do that because he was a very frail man. Yeah. He was just very tall. They actually had to put her on wires to make it where he can actually carry her. Even the costume itself was too heavy for him. He could only wear the costume for about 30 minutes before he would get exhausted and have to take it off.
Jesus.
Which is very sad.
That is sad. I mean, that's how it is for most of the extremely tall people.
Extremely tall people. They almost always have some sort of heart condition or some other condition. Yeah. But yeah, Gort was kind of cool. And then the ship, they were very adamant that it was seamless, like what the people talked about flying saucers. So what they actually did is they made the door and then they sealed it with putty and then they pulled it open and then the putty basically ripped off. But that's how they made it look seamless.
That's cool.
Is by covering the cracks with putty.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah, it looks pretty solid for 1951.
Yeah. Awesome.
You know what didn't look good?
What?
The laser effect.
I mean, special effects.
So the thing is, there are certain movies. So one of the things that I've talked about on the podcast a lot is doing a podcast like this. There are a lot of movies that I've gone back and watched that I would have never just watched on my own.
Right.
I did it specifically because they're doing remakes. And there are certain movies like The Fly, which we've actually covered on this podcast twice. The special effects in that movie are solid. Like the laser effects are pretty solid, and it's not too much later than this film. And like the lab with the lights and everything, and then the shrinking mechanism, looked great. Like this one, honestly, I thought the special effects were cheesy. And I know it's 1951, but for even the 50s, I didn't really think it was great. And we did the Time Machine not too long ago. But I think that was in the 60s. Was that in the 60s or the 50s?
I think it was late 50s.
Yeah, right. Even that one, the special effects, were awesome with the stop motion and the time lapse stuff. So I was actually kind of looking forward to going back to this because so far every old movie that we've watched on this podcast, I've actually been pleasantly surprised. And this one I didn't really enjoy. I thought it was really boring.
Yeah, I thought so too. Alex disagrees, but I had a hard time just sticking with the movie.
I didn't have a hard time sticking with the movie. I was able to get through it no problem, but I just didn't find it. For the whole thing with this was like a genre back then, like sci-fi flying saucer films, and I didn't think there was anything exciting.
If there was more actual sci-fi action to it, I would have been more into it, but I landed, I observed what's going on here, and then I warned you.
Yeah, and then the Gort, disintegrated a couple of guns. He disintegrated a tank just to show that, he could. And then I guess he technically killed 2 guys at the end only because they didn't drop the guns. Is that what happened? If they dropped the guns, would they have been good?
Yeah.
Probably. He did knock out those 2 guys when he got back to the ship. I don't know if they died or what, but...
No, he just knocked him out. The Klaatu says, we had to knock him out or something like that. So 2 people died in this movie. That's fine, whatever. But yeah, Alex, you seem to have liked the movie. What are some things you want to talk about?
The thing that I liked about it is the relationship this alien develops with the human characters. It's nice. It's I like how he's solving equations, and that's how he introduces himself to the professor. And
trust me, he won't mind.
Right. I almost feel like this version of Klaatu, if I were doing my own kind of fan fiction of this or just kind of like reading between the lines, I almost feel like this guy wasn't sent to do this and be kind of like a liaison between the Federation and Earth. I feel like he was the kind of person who maybe was like, oh, I see some potential in these people. Like, I want to warn them, where like maybe the rest of the Federation's like, we're just going to send a robot there. And if they do it, we'll fuck them up.
Yeah, I'd see
kind
that.
of thing. I kind of feel like in my own like continuity of this film, I feel like he's just like a nice guy.
The reason why I saw this movie is because of my dad. He really loves this movie. When I saw it as a kid, and the funny thing is, like, as soon as I uploaded it to my Plex for my family to watch, I went to visit him, and he's like, "Oh, I saw the day that was just." I was like, "I just uploaded that like 2 hours ago. What the fuck?" But he was telling me that something interesting. He was like, "There's like a Christ." I forgot the word I'm looking for. Not allegory.
Allegory.
With Klaatu, which is kind of like, oh yeah, it kind of clicked to me more now that I saw it again.
Why? Because he died and came back immediately.
He's very
well. He didn't even die in this one.
well. He did die because she's like, oh, did you?
Oh, that's right. He died at the end, and then the Gort brought him back.
Gort brought him back, but he's like
And
the way they presented him. He's like very like kind, and he's trying to like deliver a message and preachy, and then he does die and he resurrects. It's.
Okay, I see. Jesus.
Jesus
Space Jesus.
Space Jesus.
What a handsome
Yeah, I
dude.
guess that kind of makes sense. And I think that's a way that, people in the 50s, that's something that they probably would have definitely noticed because people were much more religious back then than they are now.
Yep.
But, yeah, I guess I could see that. I don't really have much to talk about. Really, I guess the only thing that I thought was kind of funny was they, a couple of the interactions, there's a point where like immediately he brings out a thing and he's like, I come in peace and wish you no harm. I have a gift for you. And then he pulls out this thing that looks like a weapon because as he pulls it out, it opens up and spike and someone shoots him immediately. And then he goes to the hospital and like he kind of just heals on his own super quickly in like a day. And they're like, how old do you think he is? I don't know, like 35. He's 78, kind of thing. And the doctors are like, yeah, he was explaining like their physiology and how they age. And like, I felt like a witch doctor, like a voodoo witch doctor from 500 years ago or something like that. Like, I kind of like that aspect. And then I did like how when he's out with the kid and the kid's like, I want to get to know your culture. Like, what do you want to do? The kid's like, I want to go to a movie. And the kid's like, the guy's like, well, I want to take you to the movie. I don't have any money. He's like, I've got $2. He goes, no, I want to take you. Do you think they'll take these? And he holds out a pocket full of diamonds. Yeah. And the kid's like, and the guy's like, how about this? I'll give you these diamonds. And like, you just give me your $2. And the kid's like, gets this like smirk. He's like, yeah, but don't tell mom because I'm like stealing from you.
Diamonds are currency.
It's things like I just like those interactions, to be honest. It's just interesting and different where he explains that like, oh, this is just easier to carry, but I was thinking like, isn't it easier to lose also? Because he does apparently misplace one on the floor, and that's how the husband or the boyfriend finds it.
No, they get it from the kid.
He found it on the floor.
Finds it on the floor
to Klaatu's room.
No, they find it in the kid's room.
No, they found it in the
because they ask him. No, they ask him straight up, like, "Where did this come from?" And the kid goes, "Oh, Klaatu gave that to me." They found it in the kid's room.
No, I'm pretty sure it's his room. But then the kid fesses up.
Yeah, because he was trying to say that that the kid had a nightmare. So Helen asks the fiance to go get Michael Klaatu from his room, and he's not in the room, and he looks around the room and he sees the diamond on the floor, and then he brings it down.
Yeah, I mean, I really wasn't paying attention. This movie is boring.
I mean, yeah, Alex, you're right. The interactions were good, right? And I agree with Mike. This guy was really nice, and like he was a pleasant character, and I do like that about it. But I mean, I also agree that it was kind of boring.
You know what? I just realized another thing with the Jesus allegory. Now that you bring it up, so like Jesus was was not liked by the authorities, the Romans and the people who were in power. And so there's a point where they go back to the park and they're kind of looking at the spaceship, and this reporter walks up to the kid and he's like, "Hey kid, what do you think about this spaceship?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a spaceship. It's cool. Whatever. It's a spaceship." And then they go, "Oh, is this your dad? What do you think about it?" And Klaatu's like, "I really don't like how people are, replacing logic with fear." And he's kind of doing like a sermon, and then they're like, "Okay, weirdo," and then they just like walk away to the next person. I did like the Tom character, the mom's boyfriend,
Yeah.
where once he figures out that the guy's an alien, he is really like trying to turn him. He's like, "I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be the best salesperson in the world now because everyone's going to know I'm famous. Going to want to buy insurance from me." And she's like, "What about the rest of the world?" He's like, "I don't care about the rest of the world." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "You'll feel different when you read about me in the papers." And she's like, "I feel different now." It's like, "Oh,
I'm in love with an alien.
Also, the words he
good.
says is the words in Army of Darkness. Klaatu
Yes, it is.
Berada
You
Necktie.
bitch stole my fact." No, that I had to look that up because when they played it, I was like, "That sounds very familiar. What is that?" And then I looked it up and it was from Army of Darkness. Yep. God damn it, Alex.
Did they ever explain
Stole.
what that gift was? The thing that they shot?
He said it's to
Nope.
help study some life outside of Earth or something like that.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it was because he pulls it out. It's this thing that looks like it's gonna like fuck people up.
Yeah.
And then they shoot out of his hand. He's like, "Oh, this was gonna help you guys study something." And he's like, "Oh," they're like, "Oh, well."
Oh, yeah, I don't care.
All right.
You know what I hated about this movie?
How boring it was.
Well, the music was so fucking loud in this movie. So I'd have to turn it up because I could barely hear them talking. And then all of a sudden it'd be like, like really loud. I was like, my ears. And then I would turn it down, and then like they would start talking. And I'm like, what the fuck are they saying? And then like he'd be like, "I'm Klaatu the alien." And the music would be like, again. I was like, It was awful. I hated the music in this movie.
Sorry, Mike.
All right. I'm ready to talk about the new one.
Yeah, fuck this movie.
It's a classic.
It's a classic that can go fuck itself.
Oh wow, those are strong words.
Nah, I mean it wasn't that bad. It wasn't. I apologize to the 1951 version of this movie. It doesn't have to go fuck itself.
Okay.
It was fine. Hey everybody, this is Mike. Just gonna take a quick break from the episode before we get back to talking about the 2008 version of The Day the Earth Stood Still. I want to let you guys know about a pretty cool new thing that we're part of. There's a great app on Android and iOS called Podcoin, and essentially you get paid to listen to podcasts. I was a little skeptical at first, but I checked it out, and you absolutely do get paid. Basically, you get coins for every 10 minutes that you listen to, and you can redeem these coins for Amazon gift cards, products, stuff like that. And actually, if you guys go and listen to it, if you're listening to podcasts anyway, you might as well listen to it through this app. It has pretty much every podcast on there, and you might as well get paid for it. And if you use our invite code, download the app, make an account, and use the invite code REWIND for Remake Rewind, REWIND, you'll actually get a bonus 300 coins. And currently, the Child's Play episode is actually set up as a bonus episode. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, you actually get 1.5 times the coins by listening to that bonus episode. So once again, download the Podcoin app on iOS or Android and get an additional 300 coins by using the promo code REWIND. All right, back to the show.
This one's from the IMDb editor, a remake of the 1951 classic science fiction film about an alien visitor and his giant robot counterpart who visit Earth.
Okay.
No, okay, I'll read a real one. That was a real one, but I'm going to read this one. This one's from Claudio Carvalho from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Okay.
Oh, all the people there are so good looking,
Okay.
except for the Uggos.
When a sphere from outer space lands in Central Park in Manhattan, a group of scientists are summoned by the American government under the call of a Secretary of Defense, Regina Jackson. The reborn alien form Klaatu is brought to a military facility, and Dr. Helen Benson decides to help him to escape and become the only chance to save the mankind from destruction.
Save the man.
I like the first one. But
Yeah. I'm torn on this movie because there's certain things that I liked better about it. There were certain things that I didn't like about it, and I feel like this movie was done maybe a few years too early because this is the late 2000s before you start really getting to like, honestly, until you got to about 2010, 2011, 2012, like when CG got a little bit better. Like this was in that era where CG wasn't quite there enough to do
Iron Man came
big
out this
CG
time.
things.
It was
Right. But Iron Man, you ignorant fool, the first movie was all practical effects except for the helmet. So
and then
you can
the
shut
scene
up
where,
with your
where he's
"Oh, it's a CG movie."
being put on the armor and she catches him, Pepper Potts. That's all CG.
Yeah, but that's like one scene, and it's quick. It's not that long, and there are practical elements where, you know, the arms and stuff were CG, but the parts of the suit he was already wearing were practical. So when you blend practical and CG, it looks better. When you see something that's real on the screen, you're able to fixate on that. But there are scenes in this movie that are entirely CG, and it looks like a video game. I think it's just a little too early.
Bugs were gross.
You weren't on this episode, Alex, but when we covered Clash of the Titans, we kind of talked about that with the remake. There was just like, it was too like they CG'd all the Scorpion fights and they CG'd a ton of stuff.
Dude, I'm just
and
remembering the original Clash. Oh my god, that was such bad. No, god effects.
Yeah, but it's just there's parts of this movie that's just like, you didn't need to CGI Gort. Even with like this version of Gort is like an organic piece of technology, and was like 28 feet tall, but you didn't need to CGI that. Like, just put a guy in a costume again and composite it over something to make it look bigger. Because we had already had Lord of the Rings movies. Like, the trilogy was done by this. We know how to do forced perspective and make things look bigger, or even just doing green screen compositing, but there was no reason to CGI Gort in its entirety.
Oh, well. They did.
Like,
I like the
some of the
design
stuff, like
of
the
him.
orbs in the background.
Design of Gort.
Cool. I love the design. The design,
like they kept it to the traditional, but kind of made it.
It
more...
reminded
with
me of that
little visor.
That Sentinel in Thor.
Yeah, it's not a Sentinel. That's the destroyer
Okay,
armor.
well, that's what I'm calling it because that's what I wanted to call it.
And it's supposed to be indestructible. Thor should not have been able to destroy it that easily.
He's a god.
But I do love I do actually really like the Thor movie, the first one. Thor the first Thor.
Thor the first Thor.
Thor the first Thor.
First four.
This movie got a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you agree with that?
So
assessment?
it was like
Yes.
well, so 21% doesn't mean it's like it's grade. It just means only 21% of people gave it a favorable review. You know, somebody could have given it like a 60%, and it technically drops it down. I don't think this movie is terrible. I don't think it's especially good. I think it had some good ideas. I don't know if they were all executed all that well. But no, I don't think it's a 20. Like if the Rotten Tomatoes score was an actual grade, I wouldn't say this is a 21. I'd give this movie like a solid D, D plus.
Got it.
Yeah.
Give this movie the D.
Maybe a C minus.
Well, IMDb has it as a 5.5 out of 10. How about that?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay.
I think that's about right.
The first time I saw this was a long time ago. It wasn't in theaters, but I did watch it when it came out on DVD, and I thought it was terrible the first time I watched it. This time around watching it, I actually enjoyed it much more this time. I don't know if it's because I watched it right after the original, or if I have a new appreciation for Keanu. But
I mean, the whole world has a new appreciation for Keanu right now.
Exactly.
He's on a high between John Wick 3, Toy Story 4, definitely my maybe or whatever that's called. Always be my maybe. He's doing real, and then just like he is a genuinely good person. It seems like everybody talks about how great he is. When he did The Matrix, apparently he got some like huge bonus, and he took that bonus and gave it to the crew. He's supposed to be an amazing person. Like, there's nobody who's ever worked with him has said anything like negative about him. So I'm glad that he's getting like all these acolytes right now, and accolades. I mean, he is kind of getting accolades too.
There's a bunch of...
Where do I join?
Right. But yeah, he's great. And the thing is, he knows exactly what he is. I think he's been better about choosing his roles because he as much as I love him, Katrina likes to say I'm a Keanu sore. he's not necessarily a good actor, but when he
No.
plays a certain type of role, he's very good. Like
Bill and Ted.
characters like John Wick, he's very good at playing.
Ah, man.
He's not.
I loved him
He's
as Ted.
very. I hate to say it, but very alien in this movie. Where it's just, it's like the opposite of what the original was going for. Where the guy was like a bit more charismatic
Human.
and charming. This guy is very deadpan, and he's like,
Very cold. Yeah.
Well, he is an alien, and he wasn't, he doesn't have compassion. Where the first movie, like I said, I think I kind of like retconned that in my head after watching the newer one, is this guy is sent to Earth to basically collect DNA from animals. He's basically doing Noah's Ark.
Right.
He's gonna kill the Earth, or he's gonna kill, he's gonna destroy the Earth, and so that way it could be rebuilt, and then they'll reintroduce animals into the rebuilt Earth. So this is a very different Klaatu than the original one, in that he kind of wants to destroy Earth. In fact, like this version, there are other aliens, and this other alien's like, yeah, our humans are kind of fucking assholes, but it's hard to explain, but they're like lovable assholes. Like, I love that asshole.
I just love it.
Okay. He loves the
That's,
asshole.
I mean, those are his words. He loves assholes. Okay.
Keanu
and
does? Keanu loves
No, the other.
Oh, no,
alien.
you're right. The
Kung Fu
Chinese-
Yeah,
Panda's
the other
dad.
alien's like, I've been here 70 years. Yeah, he's like, I've been here 70 years, and I'm just gonna stay. And Keanu's like, we're gonna destroy the world. Like, you're gonna die too. He's like, yeah, but this is my home now, and these are kind of my people. I can't explain
He
it.
was just like, these people deserve to die, but I do love them.
I can't explain it.
The
but,
thing is that I feel like the movie
I love the asshole.
never really shows us why we love these assholes, though. It
No.
Yeah, like, why is that asshole so
so-
damn lovable?
Jump into the end. Keanu, when he changes his mind, Klaatu, I should say, changes his mind, it's just because the daughter and stepson have a tender moment. Like, what?
daughter.
I mean, son and stepmother. There you go. Those are words.
Yeah, it didn't really.
It didn't. I don't know. I felt like that
he
wasn't
does
as
say
strong a
that
moment as
between
it should have
seeing
been.
that and then also having the conversation with John Cleese as the professor. He kind of realizes that maybe he is making a mistake.
When we're pushed to the precipice.
The precipice. But it's funny. So the guy who directed Stephen Strange,
Steven Seagal.
I mean, that is the name, but Doctor Strange directed this movie, and apparently they hired like a scientist as like a consultant for like the science part, like at the beginning of the movie when John Hamm's like, yeah, this object's coming and it's moving at 3
Oh, I
times
like
10 to
I
the
like that.
70.
The beginning part.
Well, apparently the consultant was like, yeah, when we're talking to ourselves, with amongst ourselves, we'd be like, and there's 78 minutes before this, asteroid or whatever it is going to hit the Earth. We'd be using first names. 2, we'd be using, we'd say there's more likely than not, we would say there's a goddamn rock headed our way. And he said that all the scientists should refer to each other on a first name basis, and none of them do. So like they didn't listen to the consultant.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like
Dickheads.
scientists are much more lax.
Yeah. Like
This
they're just weird, but,
goddamn
like, super
rock.
awkward. Yeah.
There's goddamn rock coming our way. We're gonna die.
So the other thing that's weird about this movie is he has all these like powers where like the original alien just like healed faster and like lived longer kind of thing, but he didn't really have powers per se.
Well,
This-
I mean,
this version
he
has
had to be
powers
touching
like
stuff,
crazy.
right? Like I feel like he was just able to control magnetic waves or like electronic waves and stuff.
Well, no, he was able to make like a shrieky noise that like made people's ears not work. He was able to
I thought that was
control.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. But that
No,
was
that was
still
him. He did it
that was
throughout
still
the
through the
movie.
cameras or whatever.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, you're talking about when
So,
he
yeah,
was
he
in
can
the metal detector, or not the lie detector,
Lie
right?
detector.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was hooked
But
up
then
to
he
the
was
lie
also-
detector, which was hooked up to the fucking
Security
plug or whatever,
camera.
and he had all this.
I guess, but
Yeah.
so either way, but what the thing is, once he does that, so there's a point where he uses the lie detector to somehow shock the guy
Yeah, because
who
he
is
touched
running it. You can't just get electrocuted because you touch a piece of machinery.
he, like,
It's
That's not how
somehow
that
if you're
works.
switched it,
manipulating the
and he's like-
electricity.
What? Oh, I don't get it. He's
No,
like now
that's
on
not how
truth
electricity
serum or
works.
something, and
Well, yeah, and then it's almost like a form of mind control where he's just like,
Because he was still touching the lie detector, and he was
that's
manipulating
not how
his
electricity
electronic
works.
waves in his body to tell the truth, because that's how your brain works.
Well,
with
but then he's
electronic
also
waves.
like, take off your jacket.
What
take off your
size are you?
suit.
Well, how did he know what
Right.
size fucking suit he was?
He wouldn't know.
42
Exactly.
long. Perfect.
Perfect.
That was the only question that bothered me.
Also,
What
Keanu
size
Reeves
is
is
that
not
suit?
a 42.
No, not a
Back
42
then,
long.
he's probably no. I mean, he would be a long. He's tall.
Yeah.
42 is the width of the chest. I used to sell suits. He's a 40
Mike
if
sold
anything.
everything.
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking great, bro. I worked for Hugo Boss.
What
That
a
company
boss.
sucks. Don't work for Hugo Boss. They're the worst company ever. They
Wow.
don't take care of their employees.
I don't know.
HR super shady. But yeah, he's not a 42. Definitely not.
No.
Definitely not. Anyway, but yeah, he's like has like truth serum powers, and then like I guess he's just Electro.
Yeah.
I-
Just a
I
way
don't
smarter
know.
Electro.
Well, and then he has like this goop. So like we kind of skipped the beginning of the movie. So like the beginning of the movie is like 1928. This guy's climbing a mountain in India, and he sees an orb, and he's like, "I'm gonna break this orb open."
Did he try to
And
break
then
it?
the
Then he
orb-
just touched it.
No, he broke it open
he,
with
like,
his
hit it
pickaxe.
with his axe.
I
Yeah.
don't remember that.
So the orb comes out and like touches him like this goop, and then he has this like silver mark on his hand, and then so they took his DNA to have like a human that can interact with everyone. But like when he comes down and he goes to like touch Jennifer Connelly's hand, someone shoots
shoot
him, and then like he just kind of like molts the alien looking skin to become Keanu.
It was a placenta spacesuit.
It's,
It was a placenta spacesuit. But then like they give like one of the scientists is like taking a sample, and Jennifer Connelly, who's an astronomist, she's not a biologist, she is an astronomist.
She did have some sort of biology training or something.
I mean, in movies, scientists are scientists, but she's like talking about astronomy at the beginning of the movie. She's like, "Give me a sample," and everyone's like, "Okay," just give her
Yeah,
like
sure,
a little vial
scientist.
of like
yeah.
alien goop, and then this guy, it's almost like the Khan blood in the Star Trek movie we covered, Into Darkness. Anytime someone's hurt, he just like dips this goop on his fingers and he just like rubs it on them like they're healed.
Ew.
I don't
It has
get
to do with
what,
the electronic waves going through his face.
I mentioned it to David. Like he was covered in this placenta when he was shot. Wouldn't he have healed him at that point? But then he just
maybe the placenta was made out of different goop.
he just needed more from the placenta to finally heal.
I mean, they cut him out of it too quick. Like as soon as they brought him in there, we're just gonna cut him out of his placenta suit.
Yeah, but when he did rub the goop on his
Just
wound,
healed it instantly.
immediately. And somehow the stitches disappeared.
Well, stitches dissolve, you idiot.
So it's a dissolving agent? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, stitches dissolve on their own naturally.
I know that, but would they have dissolved immediately?
No, probably not.
Exactly.
No, they dissolve over time.
Idiot.
Probably not. No, probably not. Probably not. You're right. Probably
Damn
not.
it. Ooh, say that again?
Probably not.
Say it again?
You're right.
Yes.
Probably.
Oh.
They
Ooh,
probably
yeah, I
wouldn't
like
have
that.
dissolved like that.
Ooh, I like that.
Probably
I'll
not.
say it again.
Yeah, but you're right.
Oh,
Jimmy. Probably
ooh,
not.
This is getting weird.
Okay.
Did you just finish?
Maybe.
Did you cream
Doesn't
your
take
pants?
It doesn't take much.
Jizz in my pants.
Anyway. Weren't you going to say something about Regina Jackson?
Oh yeah, so Regina Jackson, which I'm sorry that name doesn't fit Kathy Bates.
No,
I'm sorry.
it does not.
So she's the Secretary of Defense, which is pretty interesting. A woman as Secretary of Defense, good for her.
Yarp.
Don't know how she got it, but good for her.
She's
So
southern.
she has a line where she has this. She kind of has an interrogation with Klaatu, and she's like, hey, what brings you here? You're to our planet. He goes, it's not your planet. She goes, yes, this is our planet. He goes, no, it is not. So she's like, oh, fuck you, man. Fuck you. Get him out of here. We're taking him somewhere more secure because fuck this guy. And so then later on, like she's talking to a group of people and they're like, well, what are we going to do? Maybe he can help us. And he goes, no. She goes, no, history has shown us that whenever any two cultures, meet, the technologically superior one always will destroy the other one, whether it's through slavery or just destroying them through war. For that happens, and that's what's going to happen here. We are the ones that are inferior, kind of thing. So, and I feel like that's actually how Earth would look at it. If aliens came, the first thing we'd want to do is like, oh, let's defend ourselves so they don't want to fuck with us. kind of thing. Like, I think that, especially here in America, we'd go, yeah, we're not going to be subservient, and these people think they're better than us. And yeah, I think it's weird. Like, we have this culture where we think we're the best, and then like somebody will say, hey, we should do this, and we're like, oh, that'll never work. Well, it works over there. Oh yeah, it'll never work here. It's like, well, if you're the best, you should be able to make it work. And that's basically what Klaatu was saying. It's like, look, if you're just be better. And it's cool. And it's like, no, we're not going to be better because we're not going to listen to some aliens who think they're better than us.
It's just not how it works.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like, Kathy Bates' mentality is how we actually would react, where it's like, oh, we're not going to listen to these aliens. They think they're better than us.
I got it. I mean, like, I also agree that that's how a lot of the United States would act. But, like, if an alien who is obviously, more advanced than us requested to speak to the UN, I think it's reasonable to have him speak to the UN. Like,
well, I think maybe a conference call.
Yeah, I mean, you can always Skype it.
Yeah, have him Skype in. We've got Zoom rooms now.
Kathy Bates was like, nah, homie, that ain't going to happen.
But you can talk to me.
We've got
I'll
Microsoft Teams.
President.
We've got Discord.
We've
got FaceTime. We've got Tango. Any of these could work.
Lots of options.
Any of those.
And they had
lots of options.
They were more advanced in this movie too. They had like all these cool touchscreens that worked and stuff.
2008, we already had iPhones.
They definitely had web fucking comms.
Yeah, man. Totally. Totally had cameras. Yeah. So there's no reason. Like, I understand you not wanting to get an alien in the room with all the leaders because, especially this alien that's shown that he has powers. I get it. But at the very least, let him talk to the leaders.
Did he show that he had powers at that point? It was just Gort that showed, yeah.
No, oh yeah, that's true, he hadn't. But still, like, there's no reason for them to not. He could have just been like, look, I'm an ambassador. I got some shit to say. Just do it. Yep. Come on, Kathy. Can I call you Kathy? Kathy, come on.
And then she tried to say
my name's Regina.
He was making an obvious point by dropping their defenses to when he came down. Like, yeah, his obvious point was he thinks we're going to fucking blow him to pieces if he comes in.
Yeah. But I can also see how people would be threatened by that, where it's like, it's almost like, have you guys seen Spider-Man Homecoming yet? Or Far From Home?
Yeah.
So this is in the trailer. This is in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. But it's like when Nick Fury just shows up in the room, like, Peter's like, oh, fuck, it's Nick Fury. Like, he's not going to do him any harm, but your first thing is like, what the fuck am I getting into? Like, this guy is just, in my house. It'd be like, Double D, I know where you live. Yeah. I mean, kind of. I don't know your actual address. Never mind. I don't really know where you live. But it'd just be like, if I showed up to your house, got into the front door, and was just there, like,
the fuck are you doing?
You'd be like, what the fuck are you doing here? You broke my door. Like, clearly you have some sort of purpose, and it's not 100% on the up and up, because if it was on the up and up, you would have, like, sent some sort of message. You would have been like, hey, Mike. Hey, Double D, I'm coming. Exactly.
And
so
then I'm like, God damn it. Okay, Mike. See you soon.
All right, see you soon, I guess. But yeah, like the fact that they just take down a a missile defense system, that is sending a message that I am superior to you, and you are going to talk to me on my terms. So I could see why somebody, especially like a military person, would be a little standoffish. Like, here is a threat, and he did do something that shows he is superior. I get it. I do get that reaction. Totally.
Yeah, I get it too. I just think it's logical to have had him speak to someone in a position of power.
Right. Well, and in this version, once and the way he says things too, when she's talking to him,
aggressive.
He was very cold and like, it's not your planet kind of thing. And so that is a very aggressive way of saying, well, this is like, he could have been much more softer. Like if it was the original Klaatu with this more, tough, person that he's talking to, Klaatu would have been like, what I mean is this planet is home to, millions of species. It's not just your planet. It's all life's planet, is how like the original Klaatu would have said it.
Yeah, this Klaatu's like, nah, bitch, this ain't yours.
Right. And then he's very cold. Like he's talking to Jennifer Connelly's character, and at one point, he's explaining what's going on, and he goes, I came to Earth to save Earth. She's like, oh, you came to save us? And he goes, no, I came to save Earth from you guys. He goes, we can't risk the survival of this planet for the sake of one species. And he goes, if the Earth dies, you die. If you die, the Earth survives. kind of thing. And then he goes on to say there are only a handful of planets that can support life, and we can't risk one of these planets for you assholes. And I get it. I do. I really get his, his life. I've said that, countless times that, Katrina and I have had conversations where I go, the world's not going to end, even with, global warming, even if it gets to the point where like humans do die because the life comes uninhabitable, the earth will survive. It'll cycle back through and become better, and there will be a new dominant species, millions of years from now, but the earth will survive even if we don't. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Did anyone else feel like Kyle Chandler's character was pointless?
I actually forgot he was
when
in
he
it.
died.
So when I saw the opening credits and I saw John Hamm, Keanu Reeves, and Kyle Chandler in 2008, John Hamm, he was doing Mad Men by that point, but he hadn't. I mean, even now, he hasn't really been in any great movies. I do really like Bad Times at the El Royale. Thought he was great in that. But John Hamm hadn't really been in any great movies yet. Kyle Chandler hadn't really been in any good movies yet. This was even before Bloodlines on Netflix. And I still don't think Kyle Chandler has really been in any good movies.
Godzilla's alright.
And Keanu's like...
Godzilla's alright.
No, it's not. It was a bad movie. You can go fuck yourself. We already had this conversation. We're not having it again. That movie was not a good movie. It's not a good movie.
It's alright.
It's not a good movie, even for like a monster battle movie. Everything that was the only good thing about the first movie was how they made the monsters look huge in the scale. And this, everything was zoomed out, so like the scale wasn't as interesting. No, the movie was not good. Categorically, just unequivocally, it was not a good movie.
Your opinion
It was
doesn't
not a
matter,
good
Alex.
movie. Well, yeah, the opinion has to be based off not on something other than I just like giant monsters.
I like giant monsters.
Well,
Okay. There are other giant monster movies that are better.
it's just because you're not a Godzilla
Anyway,
fan.
how'd you feel about
understand.
Jaden
I
Smith?
understand.
2016 Shin Godzilla. 2016
Shin Godzilla is not
was
good.
awesome.
No, oh my god.
It's better than any of the American Godzilla
It's-
movies. I actually like the 1998 Godzilla movie better than either of the two modern ones.
What? You like
Fight
the fucking Roland Emmerich movie better than this?
I don't like it, but I think it's
Oh my
better
god.
than the last two
no.
we got.
It's
a
not
better movie.
even
When you look at a
Godzilla.
storytelling standpoint.
It doesn't have
not,
the
but I'm saying when you
spirit
look at
of
it from a story
Godzilla.
Oh, this is amazing.
When you look at a storytelling standpoint, when you have a movie that's over 2 hours long and has less than 15 minutes of Godzilla, you have to have a story with the characters, and at least there's a story arc for those characters. At least there's something that happens to the
Roland
characters.
Emmerich himself says he's not a Godzilla fan. He didn't want to make a Godzilla
I
movie.
agree. I'm not saying it's a good Godzilla movie. If you listen to our first episode of the podcast, we say it shouldn't have been called Godzilla. It should have been called Giant Fucking Dinosaur. But I'm saying there's a story to that one that makes sense, and there's character growth and there's character development. Neither of the 2014 or the new Godzilla movie had any character arcs or character growth. None of them. When you have a movie that long and you have to focus on the humans, something
There is a character growth. Kyle Chandler
hates
hates Godzilla in the beginning, and he grows to appreciate him. He doesn't like
He
him.
likes him, but
he doesn't.
the first interaction, he's like,
No.
no. The first interaction with Godzilla in this movie, he's like, stop shooting him unless you know you can kill him. He's more powerful. We got to go by him. So don't give me that.
That doesn't mean he likes
Immediately
him.
He changed it.
He
still doesn't
understands
necessarily
that it's
like him
a
at the
fight
end.
that they can't win, so that's why he puts it
Right,
down.
and that's his point. He goes, we just have to let Godzilla do
It
his
changes
thing.
when he's like,
That's
all right,
not
we
him
have
like
to
it.
bring.
No,
When
you're
he
wrong.
brings back
You're wrong. Let's get back
Godzilla,
to the
that's
day-
when
the-
you
the-
know he changes, because that's the
only-
monster he
doesn't-
hates.
No, he only cares about. He has to. He begrudgingly does it because he has to. That's the only way they can save the rest of the world. And then that Godzilla goes like super atomic. It's stupid.
It's a
stupid
reference
fucking
to
movie.
another movie. It's so great.
It doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's good.
So how about Jaden
Anyway.
Smith in this movie?
What was that?
Jaden Smith.
Fuck Jaden
His
Smith.
film was
this movie.
horrible in this movie. I didn't.
You're such a little piece of shit in this movie. You're not my dad, Helen.
Yeah.
You're not my dad, Helen.
That's basically what he was
Dad
saying
would
the
have killed the
entire.
alien. My dad would have killed the alien.
Yeah,
Fuck
well,
you,
your
Jaden.
dad died.
Yeah, good.
Oh,
Your
shit.
dad died because he hated you.
Oh god.
So
Sorry,
you guys
Jaden
want to
Smith.
know another little thing? So you know how they're at the end of the movie? Gort in this version turns into like millions of little like nano robots for some reason. I don't know why, but he does. And they go to like just destroy everything that's man-made. And somehow Jaden like inhales them. Jennifer Connelly doesn't get any inside her for some reason. That doesn't really make sense. But Keanu like sucks them out just like in the Green Mile. But they're hiding under the same bridge that they hid under in Cloverfield.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And then he goes and he's like, it's almost like the end of X-Men The Last Stand as Wolverine's getting disintegrated by Jean Grey. And then he like stabs her and then everything's okay. He's doing the same thing. He's like getting disintegrated as he walks to the force field sphere thing. The sphere just does an EMP that wipes out electricity for, you know, the whole planet. And that's supposed to be their like penance. Like, I'm going to let you live, but you don't get power anymore. And that's like the end of the movie.
I feel like that would kill us all anyway.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, not having power, a lot of people would die.
Yeah.
A lot of people would ultimately die. Obviously, people who are already in the hospitals would die. You know, food, you know, we wouldn't be able to immediately feed all the people. So a lot of people would die from starvation. There would be looting and robbing. Yeah, it would be a huge problem. Like, society would eventually, you know, find a way to survive. But yeah, that would really fuck some shit. That would really fuck some shit up. It really would. Like you guys saw the trailer for Sonic, you know, a couple months back, right?
Yep.
So somebody went and did the math where it showed like when Sonic had to go fast and then he played the Gangster Paradise song and he ran super fast and it caused an EMP and is like it only took down a certain portion of the country's electricity. But somebody did the math and they go, at any given time, this amount of babies are born premature. So an average hospital has this many babies who are like babies on life support. And then he calculated, you know, so on the Western Seaboard, there's this many hospitals. So you can extrapolate that Sonic the Hedgehog killed like 1,200 babies or something like that.
He's a
Not
murderer.
to mention all the
God
like
damn
the
it,
senior
Sonic.
citizens, not all the people in the middle of surgery. So then they extrapolated it further and said like Sonic killed something like 15,000 people by having that EMP kind of thing. So yeah, that would, if the whole world did that, and like this is taking out planes in the air would fall. It's bad. It's bad news bears.
Damn it, Sonic.
But yeah, that's all I got.
Sonic.
Yeah, I think that's
What
all I got
what
for
about
this.
that scene when he like murders that cop and he says I didn't,
And then
brings him back and it's
immediately.
like I didn't want to hurt him.
Wait, he healed his legs too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, he heals them.
Didn't make
Like,
any
and he
sense.
uses the little magic con blood.
shoves it in his mouth.
Placenta goop.
You'll feel fine.
Yeah, why not just like Vulcan mind pinch him
Or
or Vulcan neck pinch him or
No, he's
something?
gotta
Like,
hit him with
Or do that
he's got to fucking murder
truth
him.
serum
and he's
thing. Just control him.
like, right. Control him, yeah. Or just like knock him out.
He
Judo
just
chop
fucking
anything.
murdered him.
But he murders him, and then Jaden. So this is the only time where Jaden's character has the right reaction. He's just like, he killed him. He killed him. What the hell? He killed him. Like the kid's freaking out. You just watched another human being die. You just watched a man's soul leave his body. And Jennifer Connelly's like, huh? And the kid's like, Mom, he just killed it. It's the first time he calls Jennifer Connelly's character Mom. Because it's like that fucked up. He's like, Mom, he just killed a man, and we're helping him. He just killed a man. Yeah, it's not okay. It's weird, and like I liked that this movie's Klaatu, however you pronounce it, you know, was kind of like a harbinger of death, and you know they convince him. But I do agree with Double D earlier, where it's like it was a little too convenient, the last minute timing that he was able to do it. And you know, the last movie, the first one, he can't really control Klaatu except for with like that phrase, which even that didn't really make sense. But you know, in this one, he's able to like keep the nanites out from the bridge for X amount of time. But then later on, when he's walking to the orb, he can't make like a little nanite free dome around him. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense.
What is
Yeah, the more I talk about this movie, the
nanites,
dumber I think it is.
attack the windshield first, but not them when they're in the car.
Yeah,
That
they're too busy.
Right. Well, it was going after the man-made stuff, apparently. Like, why did they go into the kid? I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Maybe he had a pacemaker.
Oh, maybe. I did like that first kind of interrogation scene. It was like, are you human? My body is. Do you feel pain? My body does. Like, I did like that. But that's honestly probably the only thing I liked about this movie. I don't know. I think this movie had some interesting ideas. I just don't think it was necessarily executed correctly.
Did it need to be remade?
I think it did enough to justify being. I just don't think that this was. I don't think it was good. No. I don't have a problem with it being remade. Once again, no movie needs to be remade. I think this did enough differently. I think it did enough to pay homage to the original with like the line. Apparently, the Klaatu, whatever Nikto was not going to be in it, and Keanu Reeves was like, "Damn, what better what be in this movie, or I'm not going to do it." Like he insisted on having the line in the movie at some point. And like it paid homage to the movie, and it did things differently, and I liked the message. Like I got it, and like there were certain things like it was more pragmatic, it was more realistic. You know, the way the humans reacted made more sense, and I honestly liked this. I thought this Klaatu was more interesting. It just wasn't executed well. It wasn't a good movie. So I'll give them that. You know, yes, you know. By all means, go ahead and try to remake this. I just don't think this successfully stuck the landing.
Yeah, I agree. I do think this should be remade, right? I like the message of it too, and I think it'll get remade again later in the future just to convey the message again. But
right,
this wasn't a good movie.
Nah, it's not. What about you, Alex?
It's weird because I do like the original, but I definitely do feel like it would be neat seeing a more modern version of it. I definitely don't think Keanu Reeves' version pulled it off. But yeah, maybe in the future. But no, I'm just happily content with the 1951 version.
Man of simple tastes. A simple man with simple tastes. Anyway, thanks for listening to Remake Rewind. Check out our other great podcast, Ruin My Childhood, and check out Podcoin. It's an app that you can download on iOS and Android, and you actually can get like paid to
listen to podcasts.
To
listening
podcasts,
to
and
our
we're actually on there.
voices, you get paid.
You can get paid, so you get like a point for every 10 minutes that you listen to, and then those points add up to dollars. So check us out on there. If you're listening anyway, you might as well throw it on there and get paid. So do it. We're not getting paid or anything from it. It's just kind of a cool thing that we found out about, and we found out that our podcasts are on there. So you might as well listen there. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at MDXpods.com. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/MDXpods. Every episode goes up early on Patreon. So if you want to listen to our lovely voices earlier than everybody else, by all means, throw in $1 or anything like that. That's the minimum. It's $1. But if you do that, you get everything early. It helps us out a lot. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Good night.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.